We are back with another deep roll into the rapidly shifting world of women's basketball, specifically focusing on the WNBA and the seismic changes that are threatening to upend the entire league structure. If you have been following the news lately, you know that things are heating up, and not just on the court. We are talking about money. Massive amounts of money that could change the loyalty of even the biggest stars in the game. Let's start with Sophie Cunningham. The Phoenix Mercury guard recently made some comments that have stirred the pot quite a bit. She spoke about WNBA fans and what she believes is a misconception regarding the players. Cunningham suggested that fans often judge players strictly by their on-court demeanor, specifically their aggression and physicality. She feels that this judgment is unfair because it doesn't reflect who these women are off the court. According to Cunningham, if fans actually took the time to get to know the players personally, to see them away from the heat of battle, they would fall in love with them. She paints a picture of a league filled with great personalities that are simply misunderstood because of the competitive nature of the game. While her sentiment is understandable, athletes are often different people in their personal lives. Her delivery and the implication behind her words have rubbed some fans the wrong way. Many fans feel that they are perfectly capable of distinguishing between hard, competitive play and dirty, unsportsmanlike conduct. By lumping all criticism under the umbrella of misunderstanding, Cunningham risks dismissing valid concerns about player behavior. There is a line between hustle and harm, and fans know it. When a player crosses that line, fans have a right to call it out without being told they just don't know the player. This disconnect between how players view their actions and how fans perceive them is creating a bit of friction, adding another layer of complexity to a league that is already dealing with significant external pressures. And speaking of pressures, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The WNBA thought it was safe. For years, the league has operated with a certain level of security, believing that it was the pinnacle of women's basketball in the United States. It thought its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, was untouchable, a cornerstone that would anchor the league for the next decade. But recent numbers and developments suggest that this sense of security was a dangerous illusion. An undeniable truth has emerged, delivered not by a pundit or a critic, but by the cold, hard reality of economics. Caitlin Clark's potential exit from the WNBA isn't just a remote possibility anymore, it is looking increasingly like a financial inevitability. The writing is on the wall, and it is spelled out in dollar signs that the WNBA simply cannot match. Forget loyalty to a brand or a league. At the end of the day, professional sports is a business, and the numbers being thrown around right now are astronomical. We are talking about sums of money that will reshape women's basketball forever. One star's future, Caitlin Clark's future, is now clearly drifting outside of the WNBA's grasp, and there might be nothing the league can do to stop it. The catalyst for this potential exodus is a shadowy new entity known as Project B. This isn't just another competitor trying to chip away at the WNBA's market share. This is an economic earthquake poised to disrupt the entire landscape of women's professional basketball. Project B isn't offering incremental raises or slightly better benefits. It is swinging for the fences with offers that dwarf anything the WNBA has ever put on the table. We are talking about unfathomable wealth compared to current standards. The emergence of Project B threatens to create a mass departure of players seeking life-changing financial security, and it starts with the league's most marketable assets. Former WNBA All-Star and absolute legend Angel McCoughtry didn't just hint at this shift, she laid it out with brutal honesty. McCoughtry, a player who has seen it all and done it all in this sport, provided insights that are a devastating blow to the WNBA's narrative. She revealed the harsh economic reality that players face when choosing where to play. McCautry, who even famously volunteered to be Caitlin Clark's enforcer last season, speaks from deep experience. She has seen the league's financial limitations firsthand throughout her storied career. She pulled back the curtain, exposing the massive chasm between what WNBA players currently earn and the future that is being dangled before them by Project B. The contrast in earnings is nothing short of breathtaking. Let's look at the numbers. The current WNBA Supermax salary is around $240,000, with the absolute top tier pushing slightly higher with bonuses. For the vast majority of players, the max is even lower. That is a decent living, sure, but in the world of professional sports, it barely registers. Now, juxtapose that with Project B's proposed minimum salary. Reports indicate that the minimum salary in this new league would be a staggering $2 million. Let that sink in. A minimum of $2 million. That is not a small bump. That is an astronomical leap. It represents almost a 22-fold increase for a player who might be sitting at the end of a WNBA bench making the league minimum of roughly $76,000. This single figure exposes the WNBA's inability to compete financially. When a bench player can make millions elsewhere, any argument for loyalty to the WNBA begins to look financially irresponsible for players with short careers. Why would anyone turn that down? But the money doesn't stop at salaries. Project B sweetens the deal with something unheard of in established leagues: equity. Players aren't just earning a paycheck, they are getting a slice of the pie. They are being offered a chance to own a piece of a league that could explode in value. This forward-thinking approach transforms athletes from mere employees into true stakeholders. It aligns their long-term financial interests directly with the league's growth. It is an irresistible proposition for players seeking generational wealth, far beyond what traditional contracts offer in the WNBA. McCautry gave a perspective on how players are going to look at this money, and you can tell from her reaction that it is a complete game changer. She noted that even newer players are looking at the math: $76,000 versus $2 million, $240,000 versus $5 million. Who is going to turn that down? McCautry didn't mince words, asking the question that is on everyone's mind. If you're going to get paid $5 million, why put your body through playing in the WNBA? This isn't just rhetoric. It is a fundamental challenge to the WNBA's value proposition. Why endure the grueling travel, the back-to-back games, the physical toll, and the relatively meager pay when an alternative offers such immense financial security? Her blunt assessment forces a reevaluation of priorities for every WNBA player, especially those with market-moving star power. If the juice isn't worth the squeeze in the WNBA anymore, players will leave. It feels like common sense. Adding insult to injury, McCautry completely shatters a long-held myth that the WNBA has relied upon: the idea that players prefer to stay in the United States. For years, the narrative has been spun that players prioritize being home, close to family and friends, making domestic leagues like unrivaled attractive despite lower pay compared to overseas options. But McCautry calls that bluff. This manufactured preference, she explains, is largely a negotiating tactic, a convenient story that overlooks the desire for truly life-changing money. The truth is, players will travel, and they will go anywhere for the right price. She predicts that we are going to see a lot of surprising names sign up for this league because they think the WNBA salary cap is going to jump to maybe $850,000 or $1 million in the next CBA. But even if it does, that pales in comparison to what Project B is offering right now. McCautry speculates on the potential earnings for top stars. She asks, what do you think they would pay A'ja Wilson? Her estimate? $8, maybe $10 million a year. That is 8 to 10 times more than the WNBA could ever hope to pay her, even with a massive cap spike. And for Caitlin Clark, the numbers are even more staggering. McCautry throws out figures like $15 million, $20 million, $25 million a year. These aren't just numbers. They represent a scale of wealth that would completely transform her life and legacy. It is money that rivals the top NBA stars. It is money that makes her Nike deal look like a nice bonus rather than her main income. McCoughtry speaks from deeply personal experience regarding overseas play. She recounted her time in Istanbul, Turkey, describing it vividly. She talked about a vibrant life filled with great food, rich culture, and a lifestyle that was far from a burden. She mentioned legendary parties that lasted until 7 a.m. on off days, followed by breakfast. This isn't a sacrifice, it is a lifestyle upgrade. The idea of playing in Europe, Asia, or elsewhere, combining travel with high-level basketball and immense pay, is presented not as a hardship, but as the life. It completely reframes the overseas option. This revelation from a respected WNBA veteran demolishes the carefully constructed narrative by current WNBA players and league officials who try to downplay the appeal of international leagues. The notion that players want to stay home just for the sake of it is exposed as a convenient fallacy. The dollar amount, as McCoughtry powerfully demonstrates, changes everything. It is no longer about where you play, but how much you get paid to do it. The WNBA's leverage based on geographic preference is completely evaporated in the face of Project B's financial might. The financial disparity isn't just between the WNBA and Project B, it eclipses new domestic alternatives like Unrivaled. Unrivaled is offering players around $250,000 for a short season. That's great money compared to the current WNBA salaries, but Project B's minimum of $2 million is effectively 9 times that. This means a player could earn the equivalent of 9 unrivaled seasons or nearly a decade of WNBA max salaries in just one single year with Project B. The sheer scale of the investment by this new league signals a complete game changer, leaving no room for smaller competitors to realistically contend for top talent.
When an end-of-the-bench player can command a minimum salary of $2 million, the implications for bona fide superstars are staggering. The WNBA's entire pay structure, and indeed its very existence, comes into question. Who will fill the rosters if every player, regardless of their star power, can secure such an incredible deal elsewhere? This threatens to hollow out the league, leaving it devoid of the talent and excitement that draws fans. It is a direct pathway to its ultimate demise if changes aren't swift and dramatic. If the average player is gone, the product suffers. If the stars leave, the league collapses. McCoughtry's projections for Caitlin Clark are particularly jaw-dropping. $20 million a year from a league salary alone? That is unheard of in women's sports. To put that into stark perspective, consider her massive Nike deal, which is reportedly worth $28 million over 8 years. A conservative estimate of $20 million annually from Project B would mean she could earn almost double her entire 8-year Nike contract in just 2 years of playing basketball. This level of financial security earned through playing the game itself is unprecedented and irresistible. It highlights the WNBA's fundamental problem. It cannot provide a comparable financial future for its most valuable assets. It forces their consideration of external options. The stay-in-the-country argument, championed by players like Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart for Unrivaled, is exposed as a smokescreen in this light. McCoughtry's candid remarks confirm what many suspected. It is not about staying put, it is about the money. The idea that players would forego millions to play in the US when lucrative and enjoyable overseas opportunities abound is now undeniably revealed as a false narrative. It is a convenient fiction designed to mask the underlying financial issues within the domestic league. Amid this looming financial crisis, Sophie Cunningham's comments about fans add another layer of friction. While she argued for understanding, her tone and implied criticism of the fanbase sparked significant backlash. This misstep highlights an underlying disconnect between players and the very audience crucial for the league's survival. Cunningham's argument implies that fans mistakenly equate competitive on-court aggression with a player's off-court character. She believes if fans truly knew them, they'd fall in love. However, she draws a crucial distinction. Dirty play is different. If a player is truly dirty, underhanded in their approach, that does reflect on their character. This nuance is critical, but her initial blanket statement risked alienating a fan base already grappling with the perception of the league. The line between hustle plays, aggressive defense, and actual dirty play is exactly where the controversy lies for fans. While Sophie might believe fans misunderstand intensity, many spectators possess a keen eye for genuine, unsportsmanlike conduct. Her comments risk brushing aside legitimate fan concerns about certain behaviors rather than fostering a deeper connection. This internal divide over how players perceive themselves versus how they are viewed publicly only exacerbates the league's public image problems, potentially driving away the very supporters they need to keep the league afloat during this turbulent time. The confluence of these factors, the astronomical financial pull of Project B, the shattering of the stay-home myth, and the internal strife highlighted by player-fan controversies creates a perfect storm. It is an environment where leaving the WNBA for unprecedented riches becomes not just a viable option, but the overwhelmingly logical choice for any athlete. Especially for those with the star power to demand top dollar, the decision seems almost made for them. The league is now battling on multiple fronts, with its most valuable assets seemingly destined for other ventures. The WNBA faces an existential threat unlike anything in its history. Can it adapt? Can it drastically improve player compensation to compete with multi-million-dollar offers? Can it mend its internal divisions and connect better with its fan base to retain its brightest stars? Or will the siren song of multi-million-dollar contracts, equity stakes, and global travel prove too powerful? We could be witnessing the beginning of a mass exodus that leaves the WNBA a shell of its former self. The imminent departure of players like Caitlin Clark, driven by irresistible financial realities, isn't just a possibility anymore. It feels like an unavoidable reality confirmed by the numbers, poised to rewrite the future of women's basketball forever. This situation with Project B is the most significant development in the history of the sport. It challenges the monopoly the WNBA has held for decades. It challenges the idea that women's sports have to grow incrementally. Project B is saying, no, the value is there right now and we are willing to pay for it. If this league launches with the kind of capital they are rumored to have, the WNBA will be relegated to a development league overnight. You cannot compete with a competitor that pays your bench players 20 times what you pay them. It is basic economics. And for Caitlin Clark, this is the leverage of a lifetime. She has the power to dictate her terms. Whether she stays or goes will likely determine the fate of the WNBA. If she leaves, the viewership goes with her, the merchandise sales go with her, the general interest goes with her.
The WNBA needs to wake up. They need to realize that the old model is broken. The days of paying players pennies on the dollar compared to their revenue generation potential are over. The players know their worth now. Angel McCoughtry knows it. Sophie Cunningham knows it. And you can bet Caitlin Clark knows it. The fans are watching closely too. They want to see the best players in the world competing against each other. If that happens in the WNBA, great. If it happens in Project B, they will tune in there. Loyalty is to the talent, not the acronym on the jersey. So, as we watch this drama unfold, keep your eyes on the money. Follow the contracts, listen to what the veterans like McCoughtry are saying. They are the canaries in the coal mine. They are warning us that a change is coming. Sophie Cunningham's comments might seem like a side story, but they are symptomatic of a league that is struggling to define its identity and relationship with its consumers. When you combine a disconnected culture with a financial competitor that is offering to make everyone rich, you have a recipe for disaster for the incumbent league. It is going to be a fascinating few months. Will the WNBA step up? Will Project B secure the talent? Will Caitlin Clark become the highest-paid female basketball player in history by a massive margin? We are betting on the latter. The future of women's basketball is bright, but it might not be orange and oatmeal. It might be whatever color Project B decides to wear. And for the players, that future looks a whole lot greener. We will continue to track every development in this story. It is the biggest news in sports right now, and it is happening right in front of our eyes. The WNBA is at a crossroads, and the path they choose, or the path that is chosen for them by Project B, will determine the sport's trajectory for generations to come. Stay tuned. This is just the beginning. The revolution in women's basketball compensation has arrived, and it is not asking for permission. It is kicking down the door with the checkbook in hand. And frankly, it's about time. Thanks for tuning in for this deep dive into the shifting sands of the WNBA. We'll be back soon with more updates as this story continues to evolve. Until then, keep watching the numbers, because they don't lie. The game is changing.